welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to show you how I mastered level count, stop hunt, and trading at the right time. All right, so we have a couple of trades that we actually got into this week, and I'm going to be showing you the analysis part of things, the execution, and also trading at the right time. All right, so the first trade I'm going to look at as a trade we actually sent in our VIP channel, and this is Euro USD. And as you can see, what we had was very simple. I had identified a market structure and a peak formation right on Euro USD, and I was looking for shorts. So as you can see, when the market was at this point, what I was looking for was a pullback, giving me an information, and I wanted to ride this to the downside. And the risk on this one was pretty much, very little, as you can see. All right, so we're going to look at Euro USD and, how it played out. As you can see, I had the analysis somewhere around this area, and you can see how this trade right here moved to the downside. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we'll look at it from the BTMM, side of things. Right, so basically what we had, just by analyzing this, looked at it from the H4 time frame, what we had here was very simple. We had a supply area right at this area. As you can see, this is the reasons why price pushed down and gave us a lower low. In this case, we can identify this peak formation right here. Remember, this is your H4 time frame. So that peak formation, and what we can see is pushes to the downside, right? We can identify two pushes to the downside, giving us a peak formation low, right? But we're not really interested in that. What we were focused on was the recent price action, right, that we had. As you can see from this peak formation, what we identified was a peak formation low, one level of rise, right, as you can identify, into a consolidation, another level of rise, and a last push right into this area right here. So that's what I had when I got to the charts as I was analyzing this. So this is what we had on Friday. As you can see from Friday, what we can identify was a peak formation below the 200 EMA, and we can also identify a level of rise into a consolidation, another level of rise into a consolidation, and we had the third level of rise, right, making it 3 level. All right, so obviously reversal was imminent right here. So also looking at structure and market structure, we also had a supply area at this zone, right? So as you can see, as I wrote here, this is an information peak, right? And this was Friday, so this is what we had getting into Sunday, Monday, right, as the market opened. So when the market opened on Monday, what we can identify is a peak, a push being level 1, another level, and then the last level tapping into the 200 EMA and closing the day right above that area. All right, so the trade that I took here, as you can see from the analysis that I showed you, was very simple. All right, this is what we had on this day: a very good peak formation, a pullback right at a supply area, and we dropped down. So on this specific day, we didn't really have the typical stop hunt that we look for. So basically, if we are in a down phase, right, the next day we would look for an Asian range, right, some form of manipulation, right. Remember, there's variations to the theme, variations to the different types of stop hunts that you can find, right. So if we have a peak formation locked in, right, a nice level, if we have level 1, meaning we can clearly identify one push, or level 1 being 1 day of drop, 1 week of drop, whatever time frame you're looking at. If we are looking at the intraday context of things, we would expect to see consolidation, right, or an accumulation of orders around our Asian session, right, and we would expect something like this, right, a peak formation just above the Asian session, right, and then a high of the day set in with the peak formation. Information B, there's two different types of informations we can, look for. You can look for the first type, where the first leg is higher than the first one. This is a clear hit or clear grab of the stops, And then we have another one where the first leg and the second leg is lower than the first one, right? So these are the types of informations we look for. Doesn't mean that we always see this all the time. Most of the times, price just taps in the area and then continues to drop, right? So this is what we would, anticipate if we are in a down phase, looking at it from level counts. So if we look at this, this is what we can see, right? On this day, we didn't really have a peak formation, right, or stop hunt above the Asian range because the peak formation was set right here, like this peak on Friday and when the market opened, as you can see, right? So this is what we had the next day, which was actually yesterday, when we actually took this trade. Very simple. If we look at this from the M15 time frame, this is what we can see. This is how this played out, right? So this blue box right here, right, basically annotates the Asian range, right? So as you can see, we had price giving us a stop hunt above the Asian range, giving us this type of peak formation where the second leg is higher than the first. So that's what we had: first leg, second leg, and that is where we had our entry. Right, so we actually did take this trade and we did share this in our Telegram channel. Remember, this is free for everyone. So if you're not part of this, do join through the link in the description below. Right, so as you can see, we had that trade, Euro USD. I'm just gonna go through it, right, on this trading history. As you can see, we did close a trade on Euro USD right here, right, where we had 10 standards, and that trade was closed at $1,800, somewhere there. All right, so that's basically the reason why we took those trade. Was because of that. All right, very simple. Stop hunt above, and our entry was right here as the high of the day was set. And as you can see, this dropped all the way down and gave us more than 50 pips, right? But just by looking at the daily structure, what you can identify for that day is when we had, or even if we look at the previous day, right, we had the peak formation here. We identify a drop being level 1. We identify another drop being level 2, and we can identify the last push hitting that 800 EMA and the day ending, right? So that's actually 1 day of drop, giving us 3 intraday pushes to the downside. So the next day, this is what we had: a trap below the 800 EMA, obviously to grab the stops, a move, another move giving us the peak formation, and this is the real move, right, where we can identify a push giving us level 1, another push, right, giving us, or we can just drag it down to this area as we reacted to this demand, right at this point there, right? So that was level 2, and then from there we identified level 3, right? But this happened, it completed rather during Asian session, as we can see this demand area being taken out and the new structure low, a lower low, being set in, right? So we're just focusing on this trade and how we took that trade. So that's basically Euro USD, very clean trade. And as you can see, this trade was actually taken on a funded account with FundUFX, and $1,800 was booked on this one. So that was also a nice trade. And we also looked at CAD JPY, and GU. I'm going to go through that later on. We looked at CAD JPY, and this is the setup that I had on CAD JPY, and I'm going to explain why. Right, one of the most important things that I do, before I get into the charts, is I always want to understand the fundamentals for that day. So yesterday, I actually looked at the news, and we had CPI, high input news, on the Canadian dollar, as you can see yesterday. CPI right there. So I looked at CAD JPY in the morning, right, when I got to my terminal, and this is the setup that I identified, right? Very simple. What I can identify is a peak formation, right? We had level 1 into a consolidation, level 2, level 3, peak formation, and we were now going the other direction. So if I actually go to the BTMM side of things, this is what we had on CAD JPY. Just by looking at this from the 1 hour time frame, what we can identify, or if we move down to the M15 so the level counts can be clean, we can see that as the market closed on Friday, we had a peak formation, whereas the market was actually reacting to a demand area right here. All right, so we identified level 1 into a consolidation, another level of rise into a consolidation, and then the last level giving us level 3 and a peak formation. So that's the reason why I entered this trade yesterday, because a peak formation was clearly set right there, as you can see, clean peak formation, and we had a shift from that area. We had a shift from that area, so we had a drop, base drop at this supply area. That is where I had my entry. All right, that is where I had my entry, as you can see, just at that area. And the CAD news was actually the price shift. So because of the CAD news, that is the reason why this tanked all the way down. So if we look at it from the charts, this is what we had. If we go to the M15 time frame, very simple setup that we had. The second leg was set during the Asian session, right? And the setup was given during London, right? Around about that time, London, New York, close to New York, right? But all that the market did was market pushed down, right, at the end of Asian session, grabbed the stops, obviously, as liquidity was created right there, grabbed the stop, and then retested the 50% area of the Asian session, where an order block or a sell zone, supplier zone, was also present. So that's what we had. I mean, if you're looking at the risk, because as we sent this out, we're risking about 8 to 7 pips, and we were targeting over 60 pips, and that trade went very well. As you can see, not really much of holding on to a trade, right? This then moved into profit, little to no drawdown. And as you can see, the day closed, this pushed all the way down to 66 pips. But I don't think I actually had the trade until that area, as my target was reached. As you can see, this was the trade. Also took the trade on a funded account. And I think I was in with 5 lots on this one. As you can see, this was running at about $1,400. And the initial target was 2.2, right? But I didn't hold until the take profit was hit, right, as my target was actually reached. So if you look at this, which I did share with you guys right here, you can see that I also took this trade, CAD JPY sell, and this was closed, right, with $450, right? As you can see, the total profit was for the day was 5,200. So I'm just going to go through that as well. So that was CAD JPY, very simple, in line with the structure. And as you can see, we also had another trade, but obviously I was not going to take advantage of this, as I don't trade around that time, right? I'm only active around London and New York session. So this came through around Asian session, and at this time, obviously, on my side, I'm sleeping, so I don't trade Asian session. I don't really trade at night, right? So yeah, as you can see, that also pushed down very well, right? That also pushed down very well, giving us that peak, right? So these are very simple setups that the dealer had for us yesterday. Very clean setup, actually. I actually identified this setup over the weekend as we were having our weekly map out, as we have with students, just to have an understanding of the pairs that we can look at for the week, right? So preparing is always important. Don't just, get into the charts and start, clicking buy and sell. Always prepare during the weekends so you can, have a clear mind of what you want a pair to do the next week. All right, so that was CAD JPY. We also looked at GBP JPY. So as you can see, this is what we had, right? Very clean setup, right? From the supply area, I wanted to see price move all the way down. And I actually also took that trade, as you can see. So I'm going to take you through the reasoning behind this, right? So if you looked at GBP JPY, right, the setup there was pretty much very clean. All we had was the previous day, right? We had the dealer trapping both sides. So this will happen most of the times where if the dealer gives us, let me just get another board if I can. Can I change this? Okay, I can't. But anyways, what the dealer can do, if this is our agent session, all right, and let's say we are in a down phase, we would obviously expect the dealer to trap above the agent range and then drop the other direction. But what will usually happen is the dealer can always trap below first, right, getting all these people who are down here, and then finally give us the stop hunt and go the other direction, right? As this is how these market makers manipulate traders. So that's what we had for the day on GBP JPY, right? Grabbed the low, went above, right, and reversed. So this was our peak formation. As you can see, this is a bit different. Not really a visible M formation there, right? Just, an A type of setup. All right, so that happened. And then yesterday, what we had was price grabbed, just by looking at the wick, price just grabbed some stops at that Asian range low and then went back and challenged the high for that day, right? And couldn't break it. And this was also at a very nice supply area, also giving us a QML pattern. Right, so that's exactly what happened for GBP JPY. If we look at that, this is what we have, right? Looking at this, we're at the high of the day, right? Giving us, the peak formation that we're looking for. One level of drop, right? Trap at the 200 EMA, pull back, end the day, right? So this is what we had. As agent session came through, we had a move down, breaking structure, and also giving us a peak formation, right? So some people probably thought this was a W formation and went long, right? So dealer went back to challenge the Asian range high and couldn't break it. So that should tell you something. So this is the Asian high retest, and also this is a rally base drop area. As you can see, it's a drop, base drop. So in this case, it's a rally base drop, and price was back to the supply zone, and that is where we entered our trade. Right, so that is the reason why we took a trade on GBP JPY. Our entry was just right there. First target at the 800, but as you can see, that was 64 pips. This went all the way down to 90 pips, pulled back, giving us an ID50. As you can see, an ID50 with a nameable pattern, a clear M formation right there. First leg, second leg, and also gave us some nice pips. So, if you're looking to grab some more pips, you definitely had a nice opportunity to probably target these lows for 40 pips, right? But I took profit on that one on GBP JPY, which we closed. I think I was just in with 5 lots, and I closed that at $1,500. Yes, we also looked at other pairs. So this was basically the Euro USD setup. As you can see, this I did get in because of the risk was, very much reasonable. I went in with 10 lots and I managed to close this at $1,800 because my daily target was reached. So that's very important sometimes. You don't have to continue, holding a trade when you've reached your target. You don't have to continue trading if you've reached your target. The best thing actually is to get your money and, get rid of the charts, right? If you take a loss, depending on your loss limit, then you stay away from the market because what will usually happen because of greed is you will stay in the trade, you've reached your daily target, but you want to make more, and you might just end up in a loss. Or if you lose a lot and don't stop, you might just, have a losing streak that day and end up blowing your account. So that's not something, I'd advise you guys to do. All right, so yes, these trades were taken my Fund Your FX account, as you can see. Euro USD 10 lots, closed that at 1,890. GBP JPY with 5 lots, 1,500. CAD JPY 5 lots, 1,400. And we also have this Euro USD trade, which we closed at 460, and one loss, which we took on Euro USD, as you can see. Basically what happened here is I entered this trade and it took me out when my stop loss was already moved below my entry. So I basically took this out because of the swaps and all those fees, right? But yeah, very clean trading I had. right? Yeah, so you don't really have to trade every day, or look for trades every week. Sometimes, if it's not in line with your trading plan, and then there's no reason for you to trade. All right, guys. So a lot of people do know how to trade, but the reason why most people find themselves over risking and over trading is because they don't really have much when it comes to making a first deposit in a forex account, right? So people would deposit $100 and try and make it 1,000 within a week, right? And that way, usually most people lose that money, right? So that's the reason why we have pub firms like Find Your FX, whereby if you really do have the skills, they give you the opportunity to trade with a reasonable amounts of capital. Right, so if you're interested, do check out Find Your FX. Click the link in the description below so you can check out what Find Your FX has to offer. All right, guys, hope you learned something from this video. Don't forget to leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Cheers.